Good afternoon and welcome to another Old School RC featuring an RC Modeler magazine. Now, before I get into the magazine, I just want to say I've got so many new things to share and show with the viewers and subscribers for 2025. Some carryovers, obviously there's a lot of engines to be run, but I just kind of picked up another Facebook items. Some Facebook items that will be featured in several other videos coming up too. But there's just so much going on, it's hard to keep contained and not be so excited about these things. But anyway, to the video today. So today's RC Modeler magazine video is, I've been asking people, well, what would you want to see? How do you want me to do this? And instead of me, and I only get like a couple of responses. So instead of me trying to figure out if you want to see like articles or whatever, this time I'm doing something slightly different. I went through this magazine and I was just looking for things that I found of interest, that I thought were interesting to me. Now when I'm showing you engine ads this time, it's going to be of engines that we haven't seen before. So I'm going to try to always, at least if I'm showing you engine ads or sale ads, I'm hoping to at least show you something different from what we've seen before. So that's the intention here. So in this particular video, there may be engine ads, there may be some articles, there may be tips and tricks, there may be all kinds of things, because this particular magazine was actually quite interesting. And it's the May 1988 issue of RC Modeler magazine. So let's just dive right in. And once again, this video will be in 4K, just not this part of it. Okay, RC Modeler magazine, May 1988. As you can see, I've got quite a few tabs on this. And as I just said, it's not necessarily going to be all the same thing. So, with that said, let's get right into this. And it looks like I've got enough sunlight coming in on this side that I don't need my other light. So, let's see. The first thing here is some Super Tiger engines on this page here. Now, the one thing that I liked about this particular engine ad was it shows a Super Tiger engine of the old style when they still had round heads, and that was basically what the Como engines looked like too. Because I mentioned in a previous video that Como and Super Tiger were in bed together, basically in the same factory, basically the same engines. This one actually shows what a Como looked like, and this is just kind of a cool ad. And let's do one page over. Sometimes some of these are like one page over, there's something interesting. Now on this particular one, something kind of near and dear to my heart of late now is an ad for Ace RC, because of the fact that I just got that Ace 460 airplane. And this is their own radio equipment that they made, the Silver 7 series. And that was just really cool stuff. I saw plenty of those things at the flying field when I lived in Missouri. Okay, this one is an ad for Indy RC, and the thing that caught my eye here were several things. First, what's over here is an ad for Como engines, and if you zoom in, maybe I can zoom in, I don't know if I'll do that. You can see how they look exactly like those Super Tiger engines, and then this ad here, which is for Indy engines, and it shows an image of the VT 240 engine, which was just a phenomenal engine. I had one of those. So again, here's another Super Tiger. It looks just like this Como. And then they're starting to go into the newer squared head Super Tiger engines here. This one is an interesting one because it's an ad for, who is this? Oh man, I can't even, Peck's Hobby Supplies. And the reason I chose this is because right there, that's an Ace. That's actually a picture of an Ace 440. But the one I got is the Ace 460, $49.95, May 1998. That kit was $49.95 then. I think that's really interesting. That's why I showed this one. And again, same thing here, Balsa USA ad. Big thing for Ace. So here is showing, this is the Ace 460 right there. And of course the 440 bike. Most of the Ace 4-something series were the bipes. Most of the people remember the bipes. Very few people excuse me, see or ever heard of the monoplane, at least in my experience. And I don't think I ever saw one. What's next here? This is interesting because this was a Clarence Lee report on the YS 45FS engine. Really nice, interesting report, and it doesn't carry over, it carries over to here, this page, where he's got it all disassembled doing the things that he does. And, oh, look at that. And then here is an ad for that very engine, I believe. YS Futaba. Can sport flyers handle the pressure? Why, yes. Very funny. That looks like, excuse me, 45FS. That's the engine that Clarence Lee just did the review on. Now, this one should be obvious why I picked this one. It's an ad for OS engines. And it's featuring the FT160 Gemini. So obviously I was going to pick that, and then of course it's got the 240. Look at that. This is before the 320 came out. You got the 240 shown here. And then of course the 5-cylinder Sirius. What's our next one here? Seems like there's an awful lot. Oh yeah, okay. I picked this one because this is just a huge radio ad. Circus Hobbies. Apparently they made their own line of radios. I mean, this is interesting. I mean, I just think this is an interesting ad. I'll sit and read this at some point, but these prices are, in those days, are really, really high, I think. Really high. Here's an Engine Clinic article from Clarence Lee, and the reason I chose this is because it's all about after-run oils for your engines, and he's featuring Marvel Air Tool oil, and this is a very interesting article. I'm hoping that if I stop moving and I hold it here long enough that people can actually read some of this. I'm going to read some of this. In fact, it may be one of those things where I choose to just read this out loud in a video. That's an idea. And then it goes on to the next page too, so there's even more here, and then he's got a picture of an ASP 40 engine. So if you like the idea of me actually reading an article like that, because that one pertains not only to 88, it pertains to nowadays, this is a very good article for everybody now. So if that's a good idea, if you think you like that idea of me narrating or reading this article out or any other articles out, let me know, because that's yet another way I can try to share these things with you. This one is just not something I'm really interested in, but it was just another engine ad. And it's World Engines. It says Italian know-how. This is a twin-cylinder Tartan engine. I had seen many of these out at the field, many years ago. But I think the thing that's interesting is it's an early gas engine, probably really freaking heavy, but it has a pull start. I mean, how cool does that get? I mean, if you're going to have a gas engine, you might as well have a pull start on it. That's my opinion. This was an early, well, for me it's early, the Sheldon's Hobby ad before they started really maximizing real estate on pages. So this is an interesting ad. I think I like the layout of this ad, but there's some interesting things here. Like there's this picture of a Sato 45, or Sato 65, I apologize, Sato 65. And then you got an Inya 46 4-cylinder up there. Bunch of radios, Como 61, Fox Eagle 3. I mean, so there's just a whole lot of eye candy in this particular ad. The OS 40 4-cycle, the pre-Surpass one. Okay, this one is a good article. I didn't read it yet, and it could be another one of those things where I read it out loud, if you choose that. It's a World Engines. It's a RCM Visits World Engines. It says, World Engines, the name alone reminds one of so much when thinking of radio control equipment. For me, I think of John Maloney, the moving force for 40 years behind the company. So, I mean, they went to the the World Engines factory or whatever, and it's just like, here we go, it's just interesting stuff. And look at this old computer. Mark Lanterman, graphic arts director, works at an at work on an Apple Macintosh computer that aids him in advertising and layout design. He's working on an old Mac. How can that aid you in advertising and design when it wasn't even a color screen, I don't think. Boy, she's got some kind of old ass PC there. And then of course that carries on over to here. And this picture was one that I thought was really interesting because it shows Ralph Malott examining an engine that was sent in for repair and testing. It's like, ooh, baby, that's the job I want. So anyway, that's a World Engines one. So the next, and it looks like the last thing I've got tagged here is the For What It's Worth. That's what it's called here. I always think of tips and tricks from Model Airplane News. But this is got some really interesting stuff in here. Talks about oozing epoxy, a covering helper. So I'm hoping I'm holding that still long enough so people can actually read that. So that's all I had tabs for, but obviously the back of RC Modeler magazine is where a lot of companies paid a lot of money for their ads, and that's always where the big flash ads are. So let's look on the inside cover or the back cover and see what's going on here. OS Engines. So we got OS in Great Plains, basically. Great Plains bought this rear inside cover. And then let's look and see what are those? Those look like, oh, those are SF series engines. So let's look and see who paid what for the last cover shot. Look at that. Look at that. It's an Enya SS25. That was the BB. That's the 25BB, SS25BB. The one I just got from Terry was just the SS, not the BB. You can tell the ball bearing thing. But I think this is interesting. I'm looking here. I've never seen this before. Down at the very bottom, the carburetor mount there, it says BB. I've never seen that before. And I've had one of those engines, and I don't recall ever seeing that. There you go. That was the May 1988 issue of RC Modeler magazine. Okay, so that was a fun trip down memory lane. Actually, that wasn't memory lane so much for me because that may actually have predated my entrance into the hobby, but it was still very cool to see a lot of those cool things in there. And like I mentioned, if me reading an ad is of appeal or of interest to anybody, I will do that for select ads. That Engine Clinic one with the talking about taking care of your engine or after run storage type of thing. That's very, very good information all the time. So it'd be very interesting to see what Clarence Lee's take is on all of that and see how it meshes up with some of the things that I believe in or I've been doing and what other people have been doing. So anyway, hope you enjoyed another trip down memory lane with this RC Modeler magazine. Thank you.